So, Francesca, do you hear us?
I guess not.
Wow, something is using a lot of CPU right now. That's not normal. Yeah, that seems to be the Meet Echo tab.
Hello, Marco.
Hi, Barry. Hi, everyone.
I have apparently still been unsuccessful at convincing the Meet Echo people to sort all the Jabber users at the end.
Do you have a message that I can +1?
Let me. So where do we post suggestions for Meet Echo? What is the
Tools discuss? I'd say
that is to discuss. Okay, I will post a message there, and you can +1 it. Yeah, I think I had suggested it on the working group chairs list ages ago, as the first time I suggested it. Anyway. I don't know if we're gonna, I know Ian is not coming and Christian is not coming. I have not heard anything from Michael either way.
1, 2, 3 testing.
I heard you.
Yeah, but did Francesca hear us? She's going offline again.
So, unfortunately, it's just you, me, and Marco, and Francesca, if she can get her audio working.
Yeah.
Let's wait a few more minutes and see if we get anybody else. I always hate to disrespect the time of the people who are prompt, but
What is that interesting sound in the background?
today is lawn mowing day in my neighborhood.
Oh. I had a guy with a chainsaw standing on my balcony yesterday, so I think that's an improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Is that monthly?
The chainsaw?
Yeah, lawn mowing.
Sorry, is it what, Marco?
Is that a monthly event in your neighborhood or yearly?
Monthly. Well, no, it's weekly now.
Oh,
It's supposed to be every Tuesday, but I guess because Monday was a holiday in the U.S., everything got pushed out a day.
I see.
Yeah, they mow every week starting sometime in May until sometime in October.
Okay, it seems I'm not successful summoning other people.
Okay.
Everybody seems to be somewhere, but not online.
Well, I mean, I guess that we can just, if you and Marco have things to discuss in this, we can start it.
Marco, do you care about CBOR Pact?
I care. I don't have any particular point to discuss other than what I raised in the review. But
Right. Yeah, so maybe I should actually write up that design that is on the slides.
Yeah,
I have a couple of administrative points near the end, so maybe we could at least go through those quickly.
sure.
What is it? Everybody's favorite subject. So we have one errata that was reported a year ago on 8610. And we had a little bit of discussion on the mailing list, but we didn't take that anywhere. So who actually has the ball in their court right now?
Well, yeah, the AD is the one who does the handling of the errata. They look for advice from the working group. We often, for trivial things, we just do it, but this one is not trivial. So um, you posted, yeah, a year ago to the mailing list. I see that post. I mean, I guess if nobody commented on that, your suggestion of hold for document update is can be considered the working group's advice to the AD.
Yeah, I think the text, the notes for the hold for document update would mention that there is a missing pointer from 223 to 36, where that additional factlet is actually supplied. So that solves Lawrence's problem
Right.
here. All the information is there, it's just not properly internally cross-linked.
Right. I mean, so
But
I guess
Francesca cannot hear us, so
right. I guess the thing to do with if Francesca can't hear us, the thing to do is just send email to CBOR ADs asking that they close this with hold for document update. So I guess I can do that.
thank you. So we now have another participant.
Wait. So Francesca says she can hear now, but missed the beginning of the conversation. Francesca, the conversation is about errata report 6575, which is on RFC 8610. And the working group suggestion is to close that hold for document update. So I'll send you that by email. Okay, go on, Karsten.
Yeah, so just to remind people what the underlying problem here is, we have this weird syntax we use in CTDL for basing, for essentially grounding the semantical definitions in the syntax of CBOR. So hash 7.25 is a major type 7 with an additional information of 25. And there is one weirdness in that when we actually add parentheses to that, we are not using the additional information, but the whole argument. So the additional information just tells you how many bytes there are in the argument, and then the argument supplies the actual information. So that's yeah, maybe not that great a design. And this actually came up repeatedly in various drafts where we tried to use some generics and couldn't make this work. So you cannot say hash 6.eggs somewhere in a generic, or you cannot compute tag numbers. And if you could, the syntax would be really bad, probably not parsable the way it would look like. So it seems we want to do something about that in the next version of CDL, because it has come up more than once in the RFC under discussion, RFC to be completed. And maybe it's worth discussing this together with other formats. So for instance, in the HTTP WIS working group, they found out that they don't have a way to talk about structured field values. And CDL is approximately 90% useful for that. It just doesn't have an obvious way how to base it on the very different generic data model of structured field values. So this is almost, but not entirely, unlike JSON. So we would have to, we cannot just rely on the analogy to JSON here. So that's something that we should look at if we think it's a good thing that other documents can use CDDL for defining their data models. Of course, you also could use Yang, but then you need an even heavier adaptation mechanism to transfer the Yang data model to the data model that is actually being used here. So that's one point I wanted people to start thinking about. We probably won't have the solution in this meeting, but it's definitely on the agenda for an update to CDDL. Okay, I'm wondering if anybody has anything to add there. Okay, I make this point to other people again and again and see whether there is a point in trying to make this happen, or whether we should frugally limit ourselves to CBOR and JSON applications of CDDL. This is a bit difficult to navigate. Yeah, so the other discussion, the CBOR PEC discussion, we had a good discussion 2 weeks ago, and I tried to flesh this out. And I now have a design that I think can be made to work. I haven't completely implemented it yet. But what we took away from the previous meeting was that we won't have separate prefix and suffix tables, and that we probably want to make the merge table available to additional processing that we hadn't defined 2 weeks ago. So we already have the processing that is making use of the information for prefixes and suffixes, but we haven't looked at other ways of using this. And I have a little bit of slideware doing that. And let me just show how it looked like 2 weeks ago. That's the one with the tag 51. And so what the change would mean that we wouldn't have separate prefix and suffix table. They would all be in one table, and that just means we have to use different numbers here. So we cannot start at 0 again for the suffixes. But then on the other hand, we can use the same string for suffixes and prefixes. So this is probably the right thing to do. So what we now have is the pact consists of the table setup tag, the sharing reference, so a reference that just points into the sharing table and extracts the item there unchanged. And we have this argument reference thing where we have a tag that has both their own data, the argument, and the reference into the merged table, and a bit that says whether this is a prefix or a suffix reference. So that would continue to work on pairs of strings, arrays, and maps as before. So within those domains, string, array, and map, it would just work as prefix and suffix. But it also could work with tags. And by consuming such a tag, you would execute a function, for instance, like this midfix thing. So the processing model is not really defined for packing. That is not a change. And for unpacking, we would have the two processing models, the accessor in place model, which we have also called pointer chasing, and the unpacker model. But the unpacker model, where you unpack the whole packed CBOR data item, that can be described in terms of the accessor in place model. So we would just use the accessor in place model for defining the meaning. And the meaning is essentially when you have when you do an accessor in place unpacking. If you are looking at a reference tag, so one of the tags that we define in this document, if it's a sharing reference, then it has an implied number n somewhere in the tag, which is 0 to 15 for a simple data item and 16 or more for tag 6. Then you index the shared table, apply the accessor in place processing to that, and return the whole thing. And if it's an argument reference which has an additional parameter, the content of the tag that is doing the referencing, then again you do a lookup in the argument table, and you run the accessor in place on both the argument and the tag content. And then you run the argument processing, which is dependent on the flag. Is this a prefix or suffix? On the reference that was implied by the tag number, and on the unpacked content, which is referred to as the rump here. So this argument process would look at both the reference and the rump, and if both are strings, it would do a string cat, and if both are arrays, it would do an array cat, and if both are maps, then it would do a map merge, and otherwise it would do a function process. And that's the new thing that's coming in here. And the function process works by using a tag on one of the two parameters here, on the reference value or the rump value. So there must be a tag there, otherwise it's not a valid accessor in place reference. And we can use this V flag, the prefix versus suffix flag. Otherwise, we can use that flag to decide whether we are looking for the tag in the reference or we are looking for the tag in the rump. So it's completely determined by the referencing mechanism and not by what you find in the referenced data, which of the two is true. So essentially, you find a tag there, and then it's the job of the tag to tell you what to do. So that's essentially the extension model here. And let's look at that in an example. Let's imagine we define a midfix tag, and we could put this midfix tag into an argument reference tag with the index 0. So we would extract the pack.example and use it with the midfix semantics that, of course, have to be defined somewhere, like for every tag. And then the function processing would find the midfix tag, because v equals 1. It's the one in the argument and not in the reference. And the midfix tag says, take the array inside me and put the first element first, then the referenced data, and then the last element. So this can be done the other way around. So if we know we will be using pack.example in the midfix situation most of the time, we can go to the v equals 0 reference, so the prefix reference, and leave out the midfix there, but put the midfix in the argument table. So this is essentially the same thing, but differs in whether the referencing side says that we want to use a midfix processing, or the argument table says that. So this all works, even if it's a little bit difficult to express in one slide. We have a couple of new terms: the argument table, which is the merged prefix and suffix table, and the argument reference, which was one of the affix tags. And we have function tags that define some processing that goes beyond what is defined in this document. So the function tags obviously are the extension point here. A generic unpacker would not necessarily know about all application-specific function tags. The generic unpacker would be able to find out that it just hit on an unknown function tag, on a function tag unknown to it, because the argument reference semantics are telling it, using the v flag, where there needs to be a function tag if we are using a tag at all. Otherwise, we have the three string, array, map mechanisms that are implicit functions. But if it's none of these three because we have a tag, then that must be a function tag, and the generic unpacker can decide whether it knows the tag or has to leave this to the application. And the only thing I couldn't really figure out is how would the generic unpacker present this to the application. So clearly this is outside what you can express by just handing a CBOR structure to the application. So we probably need to say something about that. So this relies on only ever adding function tags. If we actually add reference tags, then it's much harder to do forward compatibility. So if we ever find out that the set of tags we have defined here is not enough, that will be much harder to add to existing implementations. Okay, so we said last time that we want to do this whole sequence thing and the unwrap splicing proposal outside of this document, and we probably don't want to do a Kirsten-sync set of function tags in this document, but maybe we should do at least one. So we have something that people who are trying to implement CBOR Pact try to implement, so they have an incentive to actually get function tags going. So maybe Midfix is a good candidate for that, but we can find that out. Yeah, then the error handling. The error handling, of course, provides additional opportunity for extension points. I didn't find any particular reason to put extension points here, but that's maybe one of the things that one should think about. So right now you can do string plus string, array plus array, map plus map, or tag plus any, or any plus tag, depending on the v flag. Yeah, there's one ugly thing remaining. Tag 6 is expensive asset. It's an efficient way of tagging things. So we are splitting tag 6 between shared references and argument references. And with the fact that we now allow any in the set of parameters to a function tag, we no longer can rely on the fact that there will be no integer there. So this becomes ambiguous, or at least if we define it the way it's defined right now, it means you cannot use tag 6 for supplying an integer argument to a function tag. And yeah, if a function tag wants that, maybe we should just bite the bullet and reserve another tag, which would be 224 naturally, as a reference tag that is also using the first item in the argument table, but doesn't have this shared duty between shared references and argument references. So this would be spending one more tag, but it would would avoid having this weird watch where you suddenly cannot use the argument, the first entry in the argument table for something that all the other argument table entries can do. Yeah, so extension points we can define new table setup tags, we can define new function tags, but we probably don't want to define new reference tags. That's my proposal to handle that. And then we probably need to think about complexity. Do we want to do some profiling here? I'm pretty sure that we will want to have a sharing only profile for people who only want to do pointer chasing and no function tag processing. And then the number 2 is the one with function tag processing, and then maybe there are subsets there as well. And one question would be whether we add additional tags that explicitly identify this using a specific profile. So that's the questions to the working group I had prepared. I hope that some people will look at this in the recording that will be up soon and try answering this off list. But if you have a reaction right now, I would be glad to hear about that.
I hear a roar of response from the 2 people who are on. Okay. So I guess we are done with the agenda. I'll note you've probably seen the message to the list that the chairs requested a session in Philadelphia. So we do plan to meet for an hour in Philadelphia. And we will work on an agenda for that over the next month.
Yeah, so the assumption, my assumption would be that we will have a completed reaction to the working group last call comments for the PAC document before the internet draft deadline for that meeting. So we will either have a second working group last call or however we handle this and discuss it in Philadelphia. I'm not sure we have any big other agenda items, but we will find out.
Yep. Yeah, my inclination right now, depending on how extensive things need to be, is that we'll just let any other working group comments on PACT come during regular last call. So probably when you post this revision, we'll just send it up to Francesca at that point.
Okay.
Okay, then I guess we are done for today. We will meet again in 2 weeks, agenda given, and I will not be here. Christian will run it. So Christian will see you guys in 2 weeks, and I will see you after that. Anything else from anybody before we close it? Okay, it is a meeting. Enjoy your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.